to receive the cup. There's nothing to beat a win at Wembley.
Black who's going to go for it. Black for the 1 point to win the grand final. From Halifax, and he's done it. Ben Black's
Hello! Welcome to another live stream of Talking the Facts of Live, proudly sponsored by Eclipse Energy.
Eclipse Energy!
And Delivery.
Delivery?
All the way around. My name's Mike Haig, and as what I say, as always, not for 15 months. I'm joined next to me by my fellow compadre producer and fan, Mr. Rick Farrell.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, we are here together because restrictions have relaxed and we can actually do like a proper podcast like we did in the good old days of 2020. So yes, we are here tonight doing another live stream. We didn't do one after the game because some of us were slightly very much so, but yes, lots of things to talk about, as you may well imagine. Thank you everyone for joining us. Get your comments in, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. So we were back, we're all back at the Shea against the, well, as it turned out, quite mightily lucky Fev Rovers. All the fans back in the ground, and unfortunately it was a loss. No fairy tale ending for the Fats Panthers, but as I say, it was slightly overshadowed by an incident that did happen in the South Stand, as no doubt a lot of you watching will have heard of. We are proud to be a fans podcast. We are fans of the club and we run it for you guys, the fans of the club and of the game as well. And it would be completely remiss of myself as the presenter, and as Rick always said, it's my it's my podcast that it does, not to make reference to it and to address what happened. So this is kind of what I think and what I feel, and hopefully it kind of, for people who weren't there and who weren't familiar about what happened, this does kind of put across the fans' view on it. Last game went to at the Shea, 1st of March 2020. We played York at home. It was a win, weirdly, for us. Big crowd there. And then 8th of March we played Lee away. Lots of fans went over. That was unfortunately a loss. But that was it. After that, COVID hit. We missed out on rugby games, but also, more importantly, on friends. Lots of people go to friends and family. We were separated and we were locked down. Rugby league came to a stop, and because of that, our world came to a stop. The club asked for help, and we, the fans, donated through crowdfunding, Just Giving, and forfeiting season ticket money, so that the club could keep going. We never stopped supporting the club. You could say we bought hundreds, even thousands of pints. Later on, the club rebranded. The Panthers are in town. We got involved in the publicity, dressed up as mascots, spread the word, shared the excitement, new name, new identity, but still the same passionate supporters as always. We spent our hard-earned money in a new club shop run by the fantastic volunteers of Gary and Lynn Bray, buying amazing shirts and the merchandise from Elgrin, and ploughed even more money into the club by season tickets, increasing our support and commitment to the club. All the while, we were kept away from the games, from the stadium, from the place that we love, from the boys we in blue and white we love to see, from our designated barriers, from our chosen seats. We were kept away, but yet we still supported. We bought streams, bought season tickets, we bought cash fax subscriptions and lottery, and donate to the Facts Trust. Our support never stopped. Finally, 23rd of May 2021, we could see our boys in action for real. An away trip across the country to Newcastle. What more excitement could you want? Further emphasising our commitment to the club, we follow this team everywhere. Seeing faces not seen in 14 months, singing songs not sung for even longer, And after being locked down, quarantined and more, we finally came together, all in blue and white, the blue and white army. Passions running high, just like old times. Some, as I say, getting a little bit too close, maybe. But we aren't out of the woods yet. We still have rules to follow. Yep, there was a friendly Geordie voice reminding us we still need to spread out like a Fax defensive line. A gentle reminder, talking to us, not at us, and asking respectfully to do so. And that was that. Sunday the 30th of May 2021, finally home, back at the Shea, 15 long agonising months away. Absence did make the heart grow fonder. Seeing more familiar faces, not seen for a season or more. The same routine, passions running high, the South Stand raw, just like old times. We've seen Leeds, Saints and Salford fans to get together on TV, enjoying being back. We were loving it too. However, instead of a friendly voice, came an aggressive charge, shouting at and figuratively and literally talking down to us. Not fans, but customers. Not a steward or a safety official, but the chairman of the club. The club that asked us to help through lockdown, and we helped. The club that asked us to get behind the rebrand. We now wear and chant Panthers. The club that asked us to get down to the Shea and support the club, and we did. Was the chairman asking us to spread out like the friendly Newcastle steward did 7 days previously? No, he shouted at us, demanding we obey, the same way he demanded we buy him a pint at the fans forum not too long before, calling us idiots. The same idiots that buy season tickets, fund squad builders, travel the length and breadth of the country, across the Channel and even the Atlantic Ocean to support our club. What kind of leadership is that? What example does that set? Can you imagine Gary Hetherington, Eamon McManus and Ian Blease doing the same? Madness. Speaking of leadership examples, I want to applaud Dave Grayson, Lee Kenny and Gary Bray for how they communicated with the fans. They spoke to and listened to us, not shouted at and questioned why they should respect us like the chairman. On the back of our shirts is a sponsor very close to the chairman's heart, investing for tomorrow. If idiot customers like the ones he lambasted hadn't put hundreds, even thousands of pounds into the club the past 15 months and more, and continuously turned up to sing our hearts out to get behind the players and create an atmosphere that makes new fans come back for more, then there won't be a tomorrow to invest in as long as a chairman behaves in that way. We get that passions run high. We should know that. But we still deserve to be communicated with respect. If we are customers, then we deserve the kind of customer service that makes us feel welcome and want to come back for more. There are a fair few people who won't go back to games until things are normal because of what happened on Sunday and how it made them feel. I don't blame them. However, we supported our club long before you came and will continue to do, loud and proud, long after you go. We support the club, our club, up the Fax Panthers. And thank you very much for listening to that. Please get your comments in for that. If you do agree with that, anything that you don't agree with, let us know, just to kind of clear up the antagonism that has been felt a lot. It's not the fact that we were told to move or wear masks or anything like that. It was the way that we were spoken to. You wouldn't have anyone speaking to you like that, let alone the chairman of a club. So that is the biggest bugbear of that. So get your comments in. Let us know what you guys think. Like as I said, it's like let's get the discussion out there. It needs to be. It needs to happen. So while we're waiting for those comments to come through, let's talk about the game, shall we? After all that, let's talk about the game.
Do we have to?
Yes, unfortunately, we do have to. What a weird, bonkers game. Constantly back and forth. And by and large, we played well. We played really well, and I'm glad that the reaction post game was fairly positive. It was a good effort from the boys. It just wasn't our day. And plus, if you'd have said after the Oldham game, for instance, yeah, in a few weeks' time, you're going to lose to Featherstone by 8 points. You'd be taking that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, mate. I think everyone would have taken that score at the start of the day, but it's just the way that we seem to come out, all guns blazing. Some people will have a say on how the game was officiated, and obviously it's a game of opinions across the board, but there were too many just incidences where the momentum shifted in the game, and for whatever reason that was, they just seemed to be really key points of the game. The counter punch when Woody's try was disallowed, and then they pretty much went up the other end and scored. I think we had a similar one right at the start of the second half where Connor Robinson goes flying through. Normally those passes stick and the player goes under the sticks, but instead of that we end up not only having a pass intercepted and he goes up the other end for the field, but then that sidestep ends up leading to Connor Robinson having a broken foot, which means he's going to be out for however long he's going to be out. So losing him, not good. We just never seem to be able to make the most of the opportunities that we had, and they never looked troubled. That's what worried me. But quick note on them. I thought their defence was really good, especially in broken field. I think that was what the difference on the day really was. I don't think, having seen pretty much most of the top teams play so far, I don't think they're the best team in the league. I'd still give that to Toulouse, but yeah, they did enough to beat us. It's just a shame, having the fans there. I thought it'd have made a bigger difference, but like I said, those counter punches and those momentum shifts were just way too much for us to handle.
Yeah, I completely agree. In terms of the scrambling defence, I can't remember seeing a team with a better scrambling defence. You mentioned Robinson breaking through, and I think it was Garside who got tackled, and then next play the ball, Ollie Russell, you just 9 times out of 10 he scores those, but they scramble back, and then you say next play we pushed it and threw an interception pass. Yeah, it'll come. As I say, it's a steady progression. It is a fairly new team, and we are going to have to learn, because Conor Robinson is our main halfback, and he's out for a long time now with a broken foot. But we'll learn. We'll come through it, and hopefully we get back on the map very, very quickly against Sheffield. Get comments coming in, guys. As I say, it's these live streams is about yourselves and what you guys think. Me and Rick can sit here and talk all night without a camera on, so that's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's all about you guys. What did you think? Do you think we were unlucky? Do you think when you were talking about the chance in the Featherstone defence, you think we could have been possibly a little bit more patient with the ball? Because obviously Pudge did force the issue and try and throw a long pass out to Salty, but that was intercepted. Do you think that we were kind of chasing the game too much when it kind of didn't need chasing? We just needed to kind of settle down a little bit?
Well, speaking of chasing, I've written here, it wasn't for a lack of effort, was it? No one's saying that they didn't put everything into that game, and that was epitomised, or wasn't epitomised more than when Sam Hewitt, second row, chased back all the way to put him in touch. So, yeah, for me, I think the thing that we did on a day like that, when it was so hot and there wasn't much wind, it was going to be one of those needing to muscle up in the middle games. We did way too much defending early on. You know how many sets we were giving penalties away on their line and marching them all the way upfield, and it just seemed every time we seemed to have some kind of momentum and some ball security, before we knew it, we were defending again. And with the bench that he went with as well, I think we had 4 forwards on the bench on a day like that, depending on how you see Ollie Russell. We needed to look after the ball early in the game and fatigue them towards the end. And I think that was probably part of the game plan, and it just never seemed to work out for us, did it?
Definitely. And as I say, if Woodburn Hall's try was given, it'd have been 8-0 and a completely different outlook to the game. And I don't know about you guys, but I saw, was it Parata's try? Was it Young? The Featherstone's first try, where it looked very similar to Woodburn Hall's try. It looked quite short, but hey ho, it's just one of those things you can't. And another thing I'll qualify as well. Referee, yes, he had a shocker, but was he the main reason we lost that game? No, not at all. He didn't help us. He didn't let the game flow enough for us to do what we do best. But you've got to counteract that. Sometimes you are going to get referees who might see things one way, and you just got to counteract that. But no lack of effort there, no lack of desire. It was just one of those where we're beaten by ultimately a better side. Really, they've got the wage budget to prove that. Really, it kind of shows where we are at the moment. It shows that we're not too far away from Fev. Table might show differently, but it's a long all season, and we just got to focus on winning the games against teams around us. We play Sheffield next, then York, then Swinton. 3 quite vital games where if we win them all, then we're right up there. Yeah. If we don't, then it could get a little bit tricky further on.
Absolutely. It's one of those as well. It's a bit frustrating because they had a lot of first teamers out. That was probably the best chance that we'd have had to beat them in a long time. So everything sort of seemed to be set up for a Fax win, and I think we said as much pre-match, but it just wasn't to be, was it? I mean, when was the last time that we went to the Shea and was comfortable that we were going to beat Featherstone on our own patch? I think we've only won 1 game in like 12 years against them there, and then we got to Post Office Road and run riot. So yeah, it's disappointing. I think a lot of people can take it on the chin. It was probably soured by a lot of it. I think if the other stuff hadn't happened, people would have seen 16-8 and the way they played and whatnot as a positive step in the right direction. But as I'm sure we'll come on to, it got soured a bit, didn't it? So
it does leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth because, as I say, it should have been a triumphant return to the Shea for all of us. Obviously, it's going to be different because of the of where we find ourselves in the world and stuff like that. But even so, it still should have been. It was a good occasion. God knows I've looked forward to it for months and over a year now. And yeah, it's just one of those. But as I say, we'll address it and hopefully we can all move on from it. Let's get into these comments.
Got some comments coming in.
Let's get into these comments.
Voice of the fans.
Yep. Nathan, Robert, thank you very much for giving that. I fully appreciate the rules and also don't think the delivery of his message was correct, but same applies some of the comments aimed at him. I think fans need to remember he also has family members / friends who are fans and follow the club, so let's not be drawn into personal attacks. He handled it wrong and hopefully he addresses it correctly. Of course, as I say, one of the defences of that of his let's say attitude and tactics for coming to over the fans was he's incredibly passionate. He is very passionate. He's an IFAX fan. We are all in this together, and but the fans are passionate as well. We've been without it. We've been locked down. We've been away for 15 months. It was 2 very combustible attitudes. What's that thing called? The unstoppable force and movable object, and it was kind of fight fire with fire. We all want what's best for the club, definitely. We all want to see us move forward and to be the best, and personal attacks are completely out of the question, and I hope what I had said wasn't taken for a personal attack. I made sure that it definitely wasn't a personal attack. It was simply about the club and how us fans being made to look like, to be called idiots and stuff like that. It is wrong, and you wouldn't get that from any chairman in any sport at all. But we don't have, other clubs don't necessarily have chairmen who are as passionately supporter of the club as Lawrence Turner, who has put money in. I mentioned the sponsorship of the shirt. He sponsored the shirt as well. He obviously, like us, he puts a lot of money into it. It's just to say it was probably something where you needed to stop and count to 10 before doing something like that. So, as I say, hopefully we can move on from it, hopefully together. But it's just something that I felt needed addressing as fans. As I say, like it or lump it, myself and possibly obviously you weren't there, Rick. You were on the other side of the ground. You were there. I was there. We are kind of sports people for the fans, whether we like it. We're on a podcast, we're on a public forum, that sort of thing. And I wouldn't be able to live with myself, and it wouldn't be the right thing for this podcast to be if we didn't address what had happened, and hopefully what I hoped for from my little monologue was taken the right way as well. So So again, thank you very much for your comment there, Nathan. It's much appreciated. And P.S. Welcome back, Fax fans. Yes, wouldn't have any other way. We wouldn't have anything to come back to if we don't know to moan about.
Absolutely.
Lynn Bray, thank you very much. I agree with Nathan. The hate campaign is ridiculous. Yep, passions are running high at the moment, but any sort of personal hate campaign is very wrong. Nathan Farrer, thank you. Join us, Nathan. Fev's first try, very short. Yeah, I thought, I didn't think it was short. I just thought it was quite similar to Woodburn Hall's, really. It might have, first momentum might have been short, but then it moved over. It wasn't cut and dry, really. So yes. With that, and you're saying he is Conor Robinson's out for 10 to 12 weeks, so that's a huge loss, massive loss. And if it is 10 to 12 weeks, that could potentially be season defining. And for someone who's been brought in to be our main organizer and main attack weapon, and obviously we've seen how good he's been kicking goals and that. It's a massive loss.
He's been player of the month for me. You know, he's probably been signing of the year as well. I mean, he's everything that we've done well in attack. The amount of times that, when was the last time we had a halfback who could throw a dummy and had the speed to get through a line? And
very much so.
And like we said, maybe if he doesn't get injured on that run, he either dummies and goes himself round the fullback, or he goes a bit wider and puts Garside over. So it was one of those things. It just seemed like everything was against us. You know, the universe just didn't want us to win that game. So
yeah, very much so. Seeing that, Nick Barber, thank you very much for joining us again. Fev played below par, plenty missing for them, and we had a good go. 3 divisions within the championship. This is a very interesting point. Toulouse and Fev Street ahead, then the other 6-7 fighting to get into the playoffs. Yeah, it's looking that way. Then the Cadden fodder at the bottom trying to stay up. As for Lawrence, he well and truly handled the situation so badly. We have stewards and things in place to deal with this. Let's hope the club put a statement out and not brush under the carpet, and the fans are not happy. There must be something to come out from the club, and they say it hopefully will be addressed. Obviously the video that was taken at the game has been picked up by media, and there's some traction towards that. Anything like that just needs addressing. Needs some sort of statement from the club, and if he does come out and apologise, absolutely fine. If put it this way, if I had behaved like that, I work in a customer facing role, and if I'd have behaved like that to customers, if we're going to use that terminology, I would have to come out with an apology. I'd have to apologise for that sort of thing there. So yeah,
like, you just can't act that way in any kind of business, can you? Whether you're selling cupcakes or designer handbag, whatever it is, you know. So again, he's not invincible. He's not going out there and he's not saying like, oh, you know, I don't care what anyone says. He will address it at some point, I'm sure, because obviously it's getting round and people can see that he's handled it badly. I think the thing that has sort of stuck in a few people's craws is what's gone previously as well, because some people might not know that obviously there's been a few run-ins between fans and chairman when you mentioned about the buying the pints thing and all that sort of stuff. I'm not big on the hate campaign, but we do need to be real. Stuff like that has probably been brushed under the carpet and allowed to fester for a bit too long. Yeah. And on a hot day like that, when everyone's stressed, a tight game against your rivals like that, it was the recipe for an explosion, and it happened. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to hear from people that were there, that witnessed it. Obviously, you were in that stand. Mm-hmm. If anyone watching out there can comment what your sort of view on it. Was it set off from one side to the other? Was it all one-way traffic? I don't know, because I wasn't there. I've only seen the bits from where the video starts. And as you know, with most of these viral videos, they always start after something's... Oh, God, I better get my phone out and catch that. So I don't think you can take that. Again, I'm assuming the club will come out, put a statement out, accept responsibility. It was great to hear that the other directors came, I won't say to his rescue, but backed him up as well, and were like, you know...
Yeah.
Didn't let it get out of hand, so to speak. Yeah. And the restraint shown by the fans as well, because they could have it could have escalated into something massively, a lot more ugly. So
yeah,
it's a tough one to take, but I'd like to hear from the fans that were there, that have experienced and yeah, if you get it across, let's see what you got to say.
Yeah, as I say, he's a fan of the club. Is Mr. Turner, and he shows passion like we all did. And as I say, when we are at the ground and watching the game and stuff, we do stuff in the heat of the moment and that sort of thing. He may well have woke up on Monday or Tuesday and thought, God, what have I done there? I need to do something about it. But the longer it takes, it's just gonna. It might make things even worse and worse. He needs something there. But again, that's why I felt I need, especially because nothing's come out for the time of going to recording. Nothing's been done, so that's why I felt I had to say something in response to that. What else have we got on the comments? Yeah, let's go for a serious one, because I say we do need to be serious about these sort of things. All through the pandemic, certain individuals have found it difficult to follow some basic rules. Put a mask on, keep your distance. Perhaps it's not the right way to speak to people, but I imagine Turner has had a lot to. Oh, hang on, as a lot of time and effort to keep Caldwell Council on board. Absolutely, yes. As I say, it's the whole time that we've been. Well, first of all, locked down, so we couldn't do anything, and then we've gradually been allowed to come out and wear masks and all that sort of stuff. Is very difficult for everyone, and it's for the benefit of everyone else. But at rugby games, it is very, very difficult to do that. And when you're in a crowd and you're watching sport and stuff, it's very hard not to fall back into old habits, but it's very, very difficult. But
can I say about that, because it's one of those, like you said, it's difficult. It's even tougher when you're watching the games at Leeds and Salford and wherever else, and you're seeing them, hundreds of people, not a few hundred scattered around a big stand, hundreds, maybe even 1,000 people all in one stand, no mask, and you see that and you just go, what's the difference to that? Yeah, obviously it's a council by council, and I don't know about yourself, but I don't have the best opinion of Calderdale Council just in general, Yeah. But again, it's one of those things, isn't it? It needs to be done professionally. We need to do it with a clear head.
Yeah.
That was never going to happen. I'm glad that it didn't spill over into the pubs and stuff after the game. And yeah, it probably did get a bit personal online from some factions, but people are annoyed, and all factions are annoyed. It's one of those things we could do with a peace deal, and from both sides to get together and say, look, let's put it behind us.
Yeah.
We could have done without the press picking up. We should have done with dealing with it in-house, but that's not to be now. It's not going anywhere. It needs dealing with, because there's obviously a problem there, and we've got to appreciate both sides of it. So I don't know what the answer is. Like I'm sure we'll come on to someone's going to say that there should have been a statement put out Monday morning, but again, we didn't know what was going to come of it. So I don't know. Where do we go from here? What do you think?
Well, we go to Sunday against Sheffield, 12:45 kickoff, and hopefully it's slightly better. Again, so the chap who built the comment on, I didn't see his name. Peter Wood. Thanks for commenting, Peter. The whole fact of there would be no food or drink available. It's just in baking hot sunshine. It's ticking time bomb. We've been locked away for 15 months, kept away all together, and then there's no way to have a drink, regardless of alcoholic drinks. There, just something to wet us whistles and refresh ourselves, and nothing there. And instead of that, what happened.
It's all these little grievances that add up and, like I said, fester into something bigger, and it's just exploded, hasn't it? So I don't know what the answer is at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not on the board or whatever, but I'm assuming that it's something that will be discussed. What we don't want to do, we don't want either side to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to use one of your cliches, and to say, sod it, either stick your club or stick your sponsorship, so to speak. So that's what we want to avoid. We want to get, if we could get people around the table now that restrictions are, because like I said, there's obviously some kind of resentment there from things that have gone on in the past, and then it exploded Sunday. So again, where do we go from here? We need people to sit down and talk it out. There's no use everyone splitting in two, and half of the group argues this on social media and half will do this, because we'll just end up butting heads and we'll just drive a bigger wedge between everyone. So
yeah,
you know,
no, Completely agree on that. Let's look at other comments, shall we? It's quite difficult. Yeah. Nathan Farrah's come back saying if he was to address correctly, the apology required should have surely come on Monday morning. Yeah, maybe. Let's say it's the longer these things take to come out, the more things tend to build up, and we don't want that at all. We want to be focusing on what happens on the pitch. We want to get together and support the lads on the pitch. Anything to take away from that is completely detrimental and counterproductive. So hopefully it does get sorted ASAP and we can all move on, really. My darling sister Claire has commented as well. Blimey, she must be bored if she's turned into this podcast. Handled very badly by the chairman. The stewards are paid to ensure fans are safe, so I'll leave it to them. If Turner is to stay in position, especially after the Q&A where he came across patronising, maybe you should take a non-customer facing position. One of the points that I've talked about with friends and family alike is that maybe Mr. Turner was the wrong person to actually do that. And the way delivery of it, there were 5 million public service announcements over the tannoy and stuff, to the fact where people were just annoyed and getting bored of them. Maybe it needed someone like Dave Grayson, who has got a track record of being really open, honest, and engaging with fans.
Great mediator.
Exactly, yeah, to come over and just have that friendly, non-confrontational. Look, lads, just spread out a little bit, and just stick in your bubble. Don't just do that, rather than what happened on Sunday. Maybe Lawrence Turner was the wrong person for that. For someone who is so obviously so passionate, who wants the club to, one of his things that the council are going to close the club down. No one wants that, and if he's been threatened with that by a Calder council, it's no surprise he reacted the way he did. So
one thing I'll say to that is, chairman generally a customer-facing job. I wouldn't say it really is generally. I mean, you don't. Apart from the odd, when things like this need to be addressed, generally is when they come out and make a statement. So I wouldn't class it as he probably didn't need to get himself involved. But again, if he's the one that's put all this work in to get the ground open, then he's going to take it personally. But like you picked up there, Claire, the stewards, if they were council stewards, they're being paid to do the job. If so, don't we need to be going back to the council and saying, look, we paid you for a service here.
Exactly.
These stewards are here to do the COVID regulations for the club so that our staff don't have to get involved, because with it being your council stadium, we need to be going to the council saying, look, you've put your staff on that's not done their job, and as a result of them not doing their job has caused a massive rift in our club, because it's a massive, this is going to take some time to get sorted, you know.
Hopefully by what happens in the next few days will calm things down and mean we can move on together. But it's like I said in my piece at the start, it's unprecedented. Like you say, does the chairman do that? Would you see Gary Hetherington walk on the south stand and shout at Leeds fans telling to move over and stuff? That's the point I'm making. That maybe
I don't mean that. Your chairman's not generally your head of PR, are they?
No,
really?
no, exactly. He's there for all. He's obviously there for his business acumen, which obviously he's incredibly successful with, because he's got investing for tomorrow.
Got more money than both of us.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's why he's in there. Maybe it needed someone else to actually just go, as I said, maybe a Dave Grayson to actually come over and say, look, just separate.
Did it? It didn't look like it was thought out. It looked like it was a spur of the moment thing. And to be honest, I wasn't really paying much attention to it with doing the job and all that sort of stuff. So you'll be able to say a lot better, people watching it and yourself, Fergie, that, you know, was everyone too close or whatever? I don't know. Because from what I've seen, the only thing I've got to go on is that video, and in that video, no one looks like they're.
By and large, people were in their own bubbles or following the rule of six and stuff like that. Yeah. And if we were close together, then it was obvious because we showed our passions as well. It's hard not to fall back on the point that I was making in my bit at the start, but also what. The fans in the video were saying is that the previous week, when we were too close and that sort of thing, it was a steward that came up and talked to us and asked us, can we just move out a little bit? Get in your group of six, you're too close, can you just do that and we'll be absolutely fine? And we did, and we moved over. And I believe there was a steward that actually did come up before Lawrence Turner did his bit and actually said to move over and that. And again, that further antagonises when you've already been told by one official to do something, and then even more.
Well, like I've just said, if he's a steward, he's supposed to do the job. He's not doing it. Do we go back to the council and say, look, you're not providing us with the service that we're paying for?
Yeah,
we talk about customer service a lot tonight.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a whole can of worms, really. We could do a 3-hour podcast on this, and we do want to talk about 35. Yeah, well, we want to talk about the game and stuff and other stuff. We'll try and draw a line under this because, as I say, it's not all about this really. Let's draw a line. Let's have Nathan's bit first. We've got Nathan Farrer who was there and who has
Spoken out.
Who has spoken out about it. As I say, and also he is part of the brand awareness team as well, so he is involved with the club as well. His argument is the fact he calls customers. Now, again, it's not a very endearing term. It's very clinical. It's very transactional. He was there. It was a joke made by someone regarding the buy the club a pint line from Lawrence Turner. Again, it all goes back to that question and answer session, which was brushed under the carpet, to coin a phrase which wasn't addressed. He understands, technically speaking, we are customers as we pay to watch the club, etc., etc. But Mr. Turner practically begged us to put money back in 2019. He did, and the club itself has consistently asked us to put money in to make sure we did have a club to do it, because COVID hit everything hard, all clubs hard, all bits of society hard, and that's what he did. He must have a short memory, as the particular group of fans he had the agenda with put about £50-60 into the club per month via the squad builder. There's no antagonising factor which can deem it acceptable in any way for a chairman of a club to speak to the fans of the club like that. And again, it's one of those. It's something that has the potential to run if it's not dealt with, and hopefully it can be dealt with very, very soon. So yeah, and also with the fact that I've just seen a comment from Carol Willis. Thank you very much for that. The fact that not no more than a mile from the ground at the Peace Hall, there was a big crowd where no one's wearing masks, no one's social distancing. Obviously operated by Caldwell Council because they've got to offer the license and stuff. Yeah, and again, it just doesn't sit right in that respect there. So that is why. And again, like we mentioned, because we've seen on TV, Leeds, Salford, the Saints all being together, the wearing of masks seemed to be a personal choice.
So much so that if you look at the guidance for the Sheffield game, they're now advisory. So
right, yeah.
There's obviously been a bit of thought gone into that about, well, obviously, if it's not happening at the Peace Hall, maybe the council have come back and said, maybe the council have come back and clarified some rules, you know? Because obviously it was the first one in a long time. What was it, 15, 16 months or whatever. So it was never going to be plain sailing the first time. But again, like we say, it's all these little factors that have added up into a big thing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And
people are fed up of all the social distancing stuff now. We're getting to the lockdown lifting, hopefully, in the next, whatever it is, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we've all been vaccinated.
Live and let live.
We're all being vaccinated. We've done our bit. Everything's going down. Everything's going in the right direction. And as I say, there's only so much time we can be kept away and locked up and separated and cocooned and whatever much you want to, whatever terminology you want to say. We come together right now, as the Beatles say. We just need to get back to some sort of normality. Right. Let's get on to the game, because that is the more. There's loads more, but again, we can talk about this to death, really. Well, fair enough. Carol Willis, I'll go back to your comment, Carol. Apparently, the drink and food contracts have run out. That's why they weren't open. Difference between the crowd at the Share and then at the photos of the Peace Hall is just shows the way Caldwell Council want to clamp down on the club. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as I said, you made a really good point there. Matthew Tallis, thank you very much for commenting. Not allowed to buy a bottle of water in the heat. Oh, hang on. But the Peace Hall having zero social distancing or masks on. What a joke. comparing the Peace Hall and the Sports Club. This is Dan Atkinson, by the way. Thanks very much. Comparing the Peace Hall and the sports clubs is like comparing apples and pears. The council love the Peace Hall and dislike the sports clubs. Yeah, as I say, we've heard rumours that the council didn't want any fans in until August to start the football season. Andrew Moran, hot weather, no drinks with masks on, well outside. Yeah, it's not a good recipe, is it, really? And that... Sorry, this is the thing about us two being back together. Yeah, that's why Rick's producer and I'm not, because I'm just absolute rubbish. Yeah. I think we've all got the comments about. Yeah, let's go back to the game. As I say, we've talked to death about it, and hopefully it does. The final word of it. It's what's happened. We can't change it. What can be affected is how we move on from it.
How we deal with it
and move on. We can hopefully move on together and deal with it and make sure there's a clearing of the air and the most important word is communication. Yeah. There needs to be communication, both ways, both sides. And again, maybe what I've done tonight, what we're doing now, is opening up that communication from the fans to the clubs. We know that people from the club do watch this. God help them. But we all want what's best for the club. We all want our club to succeed, to be the best club possible, to see that share full in the sunshine, and be the best that we can be. So, yes, hopefully.
So, before we go back to the game, then, let's just say to everyone watching, from what we've said there, do you agree, do you disagree? Are there any points that you'd pick out that you'd contend with us on? Get them in the comments before we'll talk about the game a bit more. We'll go back over your comments and then we'll wrap it up and let you enjoy this late evening sunshine. It's beautiful outside.
Exactly, yeah. While we're stuck indoors.
It's like 50 degrees in here.
And also, I'm not saying you want to see what's under the table, but it is genuinely the most ironic thing possible, where we're both together in this heat, and Rick is wearing absolutely brilliant Bermuda shorts, and I'm wearing quite tight black jeans. So, yeah, I'm wearing a black t-shirt as well. So yes. It's definitely going back to some sort of normality, but the same sort of craziness, shall we say? So yes, right.
Just for anyone that don't know, that's because Hagee wears shorts even if it's like 4 foot of snow or 35 degrees outside. So.
I wear shorts on Boxing Day games, so yeah, that is definitely there.
I've got it for you.
Right. So I think it. Right, it's my darling sister. Thank you very much for watching. Regarding the game, a couple of decisions which didn't go our way, but definitely not far off. A lot of positives to take into the Sheffield game. Definitely, as I said before, if Woodburn Hall's try was given, it'd be a completely different game going in, potentially 8-0 at half time. And then, 90 seconds into the second half when Robinson broke and Garside, 9 times out of 10 he finishes that. And then Ollie Russell, the next play, the ball nearly goes over, and then we throw an interception pass. It's just one of those. It's frustrating as hell, because if you are on Twitter and other social media, Fef fans have been completely lauding it up over the fact that we couldn't beat their weakest team and stuff. But it's one of those. You can only beat what's in front of you. They took their chances. Fev were clinical in what they did, and their scrambling defence, especially on the goal line, was absolutely outstanding, and they deserve massive credit for that. Apart from that, I think Toulouse are still a much better team, but it's one of those. The league's not won in June. The league's won in October or September, whenever the grand final it is. Yeah, we're on the right track. You think of how far we've come since the Oldham game. We're doing well. As I say, Claire mentioned it absolutely right. It's a lot of positive going to the Sheffield game, which is a game we should win, really. We'd be expected to win, and we want to win. Let's make the Share a fortress. We've had one down. Let's move on from it. And hopefully, obviously, let's ignore the other games at home, the Toulouse, and back the game. But fans weren't there. If weren't there, it doesn't happen. But yeah. Yes, well, hopefully that is the case. Chris Kirsch, thanks for much for joining us, Chris, and thank you for sharing a lot of our stuff. Actually, he gives us lots of people. We're nearly at 500 likes for the Facebook page, which is absolutely bonkers. To put into perspective, there was 880 at the ground. That's like 2/3 of what who were there were potentially like what we do, Rick. I think there's the mental health in or the psychiatric ward in Calderdale Royal needs a lot of people there.
A bit too close to home, that last joke here, I'm afraid.
Well, I was in Calderdale Royal last year as well, so it's like, hi lads, hi. Player of the Month Fans Forum, James Woodburn Hall. Yeah, completely agree with that. I think he's been our best player, obviously for last month, but since he's moved to fullback and he's grown into the role because, as I say, keep mentioning the Oldham game. It was a little bit. His positioning weren't necessarily the best in that game, but the two games that we won were shut out. It was absolutely magnificent, and especially up at Newcastle, he's being the fullback and the free role that can kind of give you just plays into his strengths massively, doesn't it?
He's a massively skillful player as well, is Woody. And when you've gone from having someone like Scott Grix where he sort of relies on his experience, not saying he's a bad player, but obviously he's on the later side of his career. Having someone like Woody who can come in, who's physically built as well. We've seen him play loose forward before. That's how big a lad he is. But with the skills of a halfback and the brain of a fullback, it's his perfect position. I think he even said it when he first signed for us in 2015, 16, 16. That fullback was his position and that's where he was going to play. Now we saw him at centre or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he has the skills to make it last. He can pick those passes and he's got over for a few as well. You know, he's put a few over. His defence has been solid. I can see it. Personally, I voted for Connor Robinson, as I said earlier on. You know, I just think he adds so much to our attack, and it's great to see us have a halfback who's got some pace for the first time in the non-Morel era. So
you had Liam Harris to that mix as well. We've got two really quick halfbacks, and you just need to properly click into gear. We've seen flashes of it. They just need to. Maybe it's the dry tracks that come. Maybe it's the old Matt Callum ways. Wait for those dry tracks, and maybe we'll see him go. But unfortunately, Robinson is injured, and hopefully we do keep Ollie Russell for a while because he impressed me massively. Did Ollie Russell in both hooker and halfback at the game? It's bonkers that Huddersfield don't need a player like that, but it's to our advantage there, really.
If Connor sees this, get well soon, pal.
Yes,
wish you all the best,
very
mate.
much so. A friend of the podcast has been on before. Get well very, very soon, and we hope to see you in the blue and white very, very soon. Before we move on, I want to give Ed Barber a shout out as well because he's one of the top try scorers in the league. Playing in centre again, it's a position that he wasn't selected that in terms of squad number or playing at the start of the season, but he's so effective. He's really, really effective, and he works his ass off for the team. And I think he was a very close second in that vote. But massive congratulations to James Woodburn Hall and keep up the great work. Hope that long continues. Peter Wood, he's done another comment. Thanks again, Peter. As regards to the referee, quite possibly one of the worst performances I've seen for a while. Rugby league is a momentum game, and one decision can make a big difference in a game, let alone multiple. Personally, I would prefer the game to be decided on two sides going head-to-head on a skill level, not innocuous decisions. Did he referee the Bradford game? Because I'm sure there was a high penalty count in that game. Let the rugby be the star of the show, not the ref. Yes, very much here. Completely agree with that. Was the referee's performance the reason why Halifax lost the game on Sunday? Not at all. It never is. As much as some sections of the crowd blame the referee for everything, he doesn't miss tackles, he doesn't drop balls, and he doesn't affect the other side's ability to tackle us as well. However, it does have a massive effect on the momentum of the game and the way that it can shift from time to time. And we just couldn't get going because of some of the decisions there, and they were piggybacked up because if there were legitimate penalties, absolutely fine, but it did seem to be one-sided, and you'd have to do a lot to convince me that Feather that squeaky clean in terms of their play. So yes, it was a poor performance, but as I said before, maybe we need to be a little bit more street smart and try and counteract referees' performances. I don't know. It must be very, very hard in the heat of the moment. But yes, hopefully we do get a ref that does referee the game fairly, and that's where we really see our strengths coming through. And also, hopefully we can get get Ollie Russell on a more extended loan role to cover for Robinson. I believe he's a
It's
season-long
loan. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the classic until they need him back. You know,
Do we know what the notice is of calling him back?
if it's Super League, it'll be 45 minutes now and then. So I don't know.
Yeah, I thought I seem to remember something about 28 days, or something. If it's a proper loan deal, but we don't know. It could be 28 minutes. We just don't know. Mark Moore, he's read my mind. I think Barb deserves a shout out. Yes, thanks for commenting, Mark. And fantastic taste you have in terms of players as well. Great minds do think alike. And yes, he's a hometown hero, and I hope he does remain at centre, because although he's a great second row, I just think he's a lot more effective at centre there. What else? Nathan Farah, again, it's great to see you boys sat shoulder to shoulder and not on separate screens, lads. On to better things. Yeah, as I say, it's a weird one. It's very weird being on a 45-second delay.
This was always supposed to be the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Forever, since we bought all the equipment and we started doing it, this was always going to be the plan. And literally, we got one done, and then the world shat itself. So.
Yeah, basically, the picture that I put on about 5:25 tonight of showing what the setup is. Basically, we're sat in Rick's dining room with a lovely dining room here, but the gear that you can see was the one that we were. Which we bought with the sponsorship money, which was given so thankfully by Eclipse Energy, to be able to be as professional as possible. We had one episode where we did it as traditional, like no video, because we didn't think, no one wants to see our beautiful mugs. It was all audio, baby. But yeah, and then after that, it was the world stopped, and it was all Zoom and stuff from my phone first of all, and then I managed to get my microphone and do what we've done for the last few months. But yeah, one more step to normality. And again, going forward, this is where we can really start to hit our stress, because we can go anywhere. So anyone who wants to be on the podcast, anyone who wants to promote anything in terms of local rugby league, or one of you guys coming who was really, really keen to show your thoughts and insights with us, we can come to you. We are completely mobile. We can do that. As I say, this is stuff that can fit in a rucksack. I can drive. It's all good.
There is a plan in there at some point for us to either get into a pub or a clubhouse and do like an end of season do where we can get everyone around, and
that would be fantastic.
You know, I've seen that.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, so we're seeing some of the comments coming through now. So yeah, yes. So we will address those in just a second. That's the beauty about being behind all these comments. We can kind of see them coming through, and you'll see them coming through there. So have we got other ones going up? Right. Okay. So what have we got? Nathan Swarbrick again. Move up. I can't see. There we go. I think people are missing the point that the club didn't make the rules regarding drinks, etc. Same as away fans being allowed in. Yeah, that's a really good point you raised there, Nathan. Even though we have got a bit of history with Fev, it was a bit weird, and I missed the away fans, the banter that's thrown over, and the atmosphere in that. It just seemed a bit weird having a team score and no cheering at all.
The biggest thing as well is finances. You know, like,
yeah.
Fev is one of our big money makers of the year. You know they're going to bring a decent following. You know they're all going to get on the drink. You know they're all going to enjoy themselves. So, yeah, we're a bit poor form. But again, like you said, we didn't make the rules. The council did. Do they want to see us succeed? Who knows? I don't know. Like I've said, I haven't got one real good thing to say about anyone that works for the council. No offence if anyone's watching that does, but I don't like your employers. They've shafted me a few times in the past. So, yeah, Mike. I don't know what to say about that.
They've shafted the club on occasions as well. But yeah, let's move on from that there. Here we go. Diane Robertshaw, thank you very much for doing that. Or will he give one about Connor Robinson being injured? Will he give Russell to fill Robbo's boots being out for 12 weeks? Yeah, I think luckily we do have a really good relationship with Huddersfield, and it's a win-win situation, isn't it? The reason why, especially because there's no reserve grade in Super League, you've seen a lot of Super League clubs. Huddersfield, was it 7 that they've given? They've loaned out to Championship clubs. Yeah, you've got Golding going to Bradford, Sam Wood going to Dewsbury. We've got Ollie Russell. There's loads of them gone. it's for game time. And as long as he's getting picked, which no doubt he will, I'm sure that Ian Watson will want Ollie Russell to continue playing for Halifax because it's a decent standard of rugby. And quite rightly, if an Aidan Caesar or a Lee Gaskell or whatever does get injured, then quite rightly they've got that chance to recall him. But as I say, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we've had it clarified, haven't we? The recall period is 7 days. The loans work on a 2-week rolling period. So
Right.
It's not a season-long loan, it's a 2-week rolling with a 7-day recall. But are they really going to recall him now? Because at the end of the day, the spot is open now with Robinson on the treatment table.
Yeah.
There's a role for him there to get into training, do a full load of training, and cement a spot. So
Exactly.
it'll be interesting to see.
Build up the momentum to develop him as a
Absolutely.
player, so that if has been widely reported that Aidan Caesar may well be back to Australia, they've got a young halfback. Rick is going to is doing his good son duties. But I will crack on with these comments here. Nathan Swarbrick. All right, seeing you, Mike, but Rick, sick emoji. Well, you've not got Rick for the time being, so you've got your wish there, and you need your eyesight testing if you're all right seeing me. He also said not Nick Barber on the podcast, thanks. Unfortunately, our gear isn't waterproof, so if we do get Nick Barber on the podcast, it will probably be because he's in the bath, and no one wants to see that at all. No one wants to see a haggard old man with his with his bits out there. Nathan Farrer. The TTFOL season due at Farrer's Pub. There we are. Nathan Farrer with his top secret pub location. If make it happen. What's that phrase? Build it and they will come. There we go. Peter Wood has come back again. Fantastic question.
Great question.
Why do you think Barber and Saltonstall have been more productive than Worthington and Rawstorm?
I'll have a go at this one. I think everything has been set to drive left and shift right, hasn't it? And with the dominant right-handed rugby league players, it's easier to pass left to right than it is right to left. So it could have something to do with that. Good defence on right edges as well. You know, they've not had it their own way, and we've scored a few. I wouldn't say that they haven't been productive, but they haven't done what we expected them to, have we? What we signed them to do just yet. I mean, Rossvaughn's got over for a couple and done some good work. But it just seems like Greg, they know how much of a danger man he is. So every time he even gets close to getting the ball in his hand, he's got someone on his toes before he knows what's happening. So I just think that the whole game plan is probably set up to drive left and then hit the move on the right. So I think that's probably why you won't see as much production on the left edge as you would on the right.
Also,
sorry, go on.
Also, a good point that was pointed out to me by a friend of the show, Matt Shaw, on Sunday night was that Greg Worthington is really, really productive when he's given early ball. The way that our halfbacks play, they take it to the line and then they shift it. So maybe we're not necessarily playing to Worthington's strengths, but when you've got a player as good as Greg Worthington, maybe you should be able to adapt to those circumstances. I don't know, but for a player that is no doubt on one of the top wages at the club, we've not seen as much as maybe we expected, but he's not played badly. He's not necessarily missed a lot of tackles for tries to go in and that sort of thing. He's not the thing he hasn't done. He scored tries. He scored tries wherever he's gone, and that's the most surprising thing. But like you say, Rick, and like we saw on Sunday, teams' defences are very well set up, and he's a danger man, and you target those sort of players, don't you?
Absolutely. They've looked at the film obviously and gone, that's a man that's scored in every season, every chance he's got. So, plus I think you can look as well that we had a little bit of a settled sort of style of play, and you've got Barber and Saltonstall have been in the system for 5-6 years, so they understand it maybe a bit more than the new lads do. I don't know. I just reckon it's a case of we like to drive left and hit right. So simple as that. Maybe
Ollie Russell coming might give us that little bit of different option.
Yeah,
he might see that. We don't know, but as I say, we can't play much worse than the Oldham game. We are steadily improving, and hopefully because of that, maybe they're getting confidence. Rawstorm and Worthington, they went through an awful time at Toronto with all the off-field stuff that they went through in Super League, and I don't think they played many Super League games, if all really, so they've not played either. It probably takes a lot of time. A, coming back to playing rugby league, but B, going from a full-time Super League environment to a part-time Championship environment, completely new way of doing it, completely different coach with different coaching philosophies. Simon Griggs is completely different to Brian McDermott, and it obviously has his own philosophy of doing stuff. And it might be that Worthington is taking a bit longer to adapt to that, but he will come. He's too good a player not to. His track record speaks for itself. He's a local lad. You can see how much it means to him to want to play for the club. He's a brilliant ambassador. He will, and the cream always rises to the top. Definitely. Hang on, we're just looking at comments here. Mark Moore is loving both of us. You think Rick had a point about?
Hey, this is a good show, mate. This is a good show. We're quite knowledgeable about the game. I'll give you a question then, because that seems to be the last comment. I've got a question for you. Amir Burra, Rough, however you pronounce his name, dropped. Thoughts on that selection process? So obviously, we had Russell coming from Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Had to get a game. I personally think Sunday would have been a perfect game for Amir. What do you reckon?
Yeah. In a nice possible way, I hope he was injured, because I don't think he deserved to be dropped at all, really. Regardless of who's coming in, you play your players in form. And we know he got a knock at Newcastle and he had to score in, and hope that was the reason we left out. We've talked about players who've been brilliant this season. Chris Kershaw just confirmed that Ed Barber was a close second in the Fans Forum poll for Player of the Month. Yeah, Amir Burra's been right up there for being Player of the Year. He's been outstanding by what he's done. Different kind of players in there, and maybe Simon Griggs thought a different change of tactics might suit it in there and that sort of thing. I hope he does come back, and again, with Connor Robinson being injured, hopefully Ollie Russell moving to the Hearts, it opens up that spot for him to come back, but he might have recovered from his injury, we don't know. In a perfect scenario, would you have Amir Burra playing every week? Of course you would. It means that it gives Brandon Moore a chance to do something completely different. And while we're on it, Brandon Moore I thought was outstanding on Sundays. I think he got man of the match at the game. He just doesn't have a bad game at all, Brandon Moore. He's just an absolute machine. I do like the dynamic of Amir being at dummy half and Brandon Moore being at loose forward. It's something different. And when they're both on form, it's just absolutely brilliant. Dan Atkinson need to be able to both ways with such a talented backline, of course.
Definitely. Talking about the shifting left and right.
Yeah,
that's Rick has a point. Thanks, Mark. I'll tell you what. Last chance for Roman. Said if you want to get your last comments in, we're going to wrap it up shortly. We've done an hour now. If there's anything anyone else wants to talk about before we go, feel free. Voice of the fans. Do you want to just do that last comment?
Yeah, Peter Wood is another brilliant question there, or point. Amir Burra is brilliant, he is. Unfortunately, his direct competition is a captain in more. Tricky one for Griggs. A lot of teams do run with two hookers.
Yeah, but how many times do you start with your captain on the bench? It's not exactly the most common thing in any sport, is it? Really?
True, but it's rugby league is innovative in its own ways, but he's part of the squad, but that's the reason why Simon Griggs is in the job that he does. He's paid to make those sort of tough decisions, and it's good that we've got a squad with that, so we've got cover to come in. So yeah, hopefully he does play on Sunday though, Amir Burra. I think we missed him on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And I think that's all she wrote.
Oh, there we go.
Well, we keep delaying this. It's a late show here. Lynn Brave, what's your thoughts on Tangata's return? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He can tell he's played Super League for the last 18 months. He's been brilliant, and he's deserved his try on Sunday. He just does the really simple things really well, but then obviously he has that X factor that Tangata does really well. And we've got a very special guest on, a friend of the podcast, Connor Robinson. Thank you for joining us, Connor.
Hey, lad.
Genuinely hope you're all right.
Yeah, really, mate.
It's really sad to see you not on the pitch for the next few weeks or so.
He'll be gutted. He'll be babysitting for every weekend for the next 12 weeks now.
I bet his missus is loving it.
His missus will be out. That's it now.
Yes, but no. Hope you come out strong on the other side. yeah, and hopefully you do. You are still part of the squad, part of the lads cheering them on. I know you're a real passionate guy in terms of the club, and no doubt you'll give Ollie Russell and Liam Harris your full support while you are injured. But counting down the days until you are back from there. So yeah, I hope you're all right as well in terms of mentally as well. It's an awful injury to have.
I don't know if you can shed any light on what actually happened, Connor, but it looks like it was when you stepped off that it was like a stress fracture or something. It was very, it didn't look like you'd done it in contact. So
no, those usually the worst ones, aren't they? When they look really innocuous.
No one's anywhere near you.
Exactly, yeah, and if you can, Connor, please let whoever's going to take over your kicking job on all your secrets because you've been absolutely fantastic with the boot. And yes, good news, not 12 weeks.
Exclusive. We've finally got an exclusive. We've been doing this for 2 years now. We've finally got an exclusive.
Hopefully it's not like 11 weeks and you're not pulling our leg, but no.
11.5.
Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but you're a fit lad, Connor, so hopefully you are back sooner rather than later there. He's saying stepped onto the right foot, felt it go. Comeback's always better than the setback. For sure, definitely. Don't call it a comeback, all that jazz. Yes, fantastic. I don't know. Yeah.
We're not down on his rap.
I'm very, very white at the moment and probably going to turn red in this sun, really.
Before we carry on, though, can I just go back to Lynn's question about Tangata? I think the one thing that you can see in Tangata's game is he really has seen the benefit from that Super League training, whether it's been fitness or just some of the things he does in terms of not necessarily skill, but his composure when he's got the ball. He's becoming not necessarily a cannonball, but an anchor for us in midfield where we know we can rely on him now. The ball's not going to squeeze out. He's gone away and he's come back to us a better player, which, if everyone can do that, which, Connor, yourself, you've gone away and come back to us a better player. So
for sure, yeah, and hopefully this is it now. He's here for the rest of his career. There's no more Super League dalliance unless he wants to go for another few month holiday to Wakefield.
Well, we said that, didn't we? He'll sign for, what was it? Name me one of the American, Pittsburgh Pomegranates or whatever they call themselves, and then he'll sign for Fax again, and he'll get the record for number of times signed for the same club.
Yeah, definitely. One thing, if you're still in there, Connor, I want to know what it was like to have the south stand and the east stand and the bats and the north stand roaring you on. What was the atmosphere like on the pitch, and how different was it? Because it must have been so weird to play without any fans. I know you got a little taste of it up at Newcastle, but there's nothing like the shade to back the lads on from there. And I must admit, the first Alley Alley that went up and stuff, I got a little bit of goosebumps. Yeah, and it just the way that it kind of reverberated, when it echoes, it was just like, wow, I properly missed that. But yeah, it was good. It was good to see you in the flesh, Connor, and the lads as well, rather than on a dodgy R-League stream, which when the sound and the picture aren't all together. Or delays and stuff, but yeah,
the easiest thing, is it?
No, not at all. I think that's all she wrote. It could well be it, but yeah.
Final points, Michael.
Final points, Richard. I am so glad we are back. It was so good. Again, to put a little personal note, when I was in my darkest hours of when I was ill last year, I constantly thought of being back at the Shea, wanting to be back there in the sunshine, and the image of the Shea was just like, wow, I've waited for this for so long, and so glad to have it back. Long may it continue. Hopefully, it's winning ways, and yeah, that absolutely can't wait. And for that, I'm glad that we're actually back here in the flesh as well. Actually, together doing this.
It's been a very long time, and like I say, hopefully this will be the formula, and they won't start changing the rules and everything. But we just need to address one more time, obviously, what was said right at the start of the stream about the goings on to the club. We need to all get round the table now. What's happened has happened. Yes, there was disrespect on both sides, but let's get round each other now. Let's get round the table. Let's talk it out. Let's not let it fester behind closed doors for another year before it blows up into something even worse. Let's show respect to all sides. Let's work it out, because everyone wants the best for the Panthers, and There's no other way to look at it. So
definitely now. Let's move on together. We're all Facts fans here together now.
Totally agree.
But yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for
Akers, last comment, cracking show, lads. Thank you very much. Akers, very much appreciate that. And yeah, that's all she wrote. Thank you very much for joining us again. Should we do a live stream after the game on Sunday? Don't know.
I can't go to the game on Sunday. I'm gigging.
Oh, what a shame! I'll do one by myself. No, let's not.
Yeah, because I own all the equipment, you idiot.
Yeah, we'll do another normal podcast next week. Should we do it live again? Last kind of thing. Do you prefer these live streams or would you prefer normal podcasts? Let us know. We can do either. Personally, I love doing live stream. I think it gets the adrenaline pumping and stuff. But if we are to get guests on, I know a lot of people don't like the buzz of live streaming and that. But yeah, let us know. Thank you very much for joining us again. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Rick. Thank you very much for doing that. Yes. And as always, up the Fox Panthers.